What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm really excited because I'm going to be setting up a project that I've been really wanting to do for quite a while now. As you can see here, I have a shallow glass container, and I've been wanting to set up a little mini desktop pond that just kind of grows some plants and looks really nice so that I can look at it when I'm on my computer. Now, I've rummaged through my hardscape collection and I've kind of narrowed it down to what we have sitting here on my dresser. I have this driftwood piece that I think is going to be the main focus, and I've already kind of did some alterations to it that I'll get to in a moment. But we do have some rocks here that are really nice. Now, all of these rocks I've collected. They're mostly granites, and the main mineral in them I believe to be quartz, so I'm not too concerned about it changing the water parameters, and not that it would really matter because I'm not planning on stocking anything in this little pond. And that brings up another good point. Alright, now you guys see this little pond here holds exactly 3 liters without anything in it. Now if we factor in the water displacement from the driftwood as well as any kind of rocks and substrate we add, there's going to be very little water in here, less than probably half a gallon. Now just to clear up any kind of confusions, I am not planning on putting fish or shrimp in this pond. This is simply meant to grow aquatic plants and maybe a few snails, and that's about it. I just want a nice little water feature to sit on my desk and have something nice to look at. And one more thing to add before I give you guys a closer look and we start actually hardscaping this thing, I am actually planning on adding a mini water pump and maybe drilling a hole in here for the water to come out and just have a little waterfall kind of trickling back down in the pond. I think that would be really sick and pull the whole thing all together, and especially if I can have some moss and nubias growing on the driftwood, I think it would look really awesome. Also, what's really cool about this piece of driftwood is that a lot of it is above the water. So I'm really excited to work with new kinds of plants and see what works and what we can plant above the water line and get a really cool living wall kind of feel to this water feature. Now, if you guys have any experience with terrestrial plants or you have any kind of suggestions what would work well up here, I'm really not familiar with those kinds of plants, so I would love any kind of advice and suggestions you guys have. Just leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to read everything. Alright guys, so in preparation for this scape, I made a few alterations to the driftwood, as you guys can see. So I've siliconed this piece of rock that fit nicely with the driftwood on the bottom here, and this helps weighing it down and just sit a little bit more secure in the pond. Now, I could have gone ahead and siliconed this into the mini pond and it would have been fine, but I know I'm going to be adding a little mini water pump and making some alterations to this driftwood, so this route is going to be a lot better in the long run. As you can see here, I also trimmed some of the piece of driftwood just so it sits more further back in the pond, because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of space we're working with, and it just helps it sit a little bit more flat. So this is going to be our centerpiece that we're going to work around, and as you can see, it fits pretty nice in the back of the pond there. So I'm just going to take some time here and select a few rocks. So as you can see, rocks like this are a little bit too big, so we'll have to go through and eliminate them. They're just going to displace too much water, even though they're quite beautiful, but I'm sure I'll use them in another scape coming up. Some of the rocks like this might work. It's got some nice red colors, which is going to add a little pop of color, which is going to be nice. Now I'm really loving how sparkly some of these rocks are. As you see, this one's pretty cool. It's got the white quartz, and I'm a little rusty with my minerals, so I'm not too sure about what the black is here. It's probably mica, but if any of you guys are into minerals out there, feel free to school me in the comments section below. I'd love to know what I'm actually dealing with here. All really cool, colorful stuff, and I'm excited to see how it looks under the water. So as you guys can see, I selected a few of these smaller pieces of rocks that we're going to try and fit into this little aquascape. The driftwood piece for now I'm going to take out because we're going to add our substrate. Now for substrate, I'm just using some white sand. This is the same stuff that was in my old 20-gallon aquarium, and it works really well. This was actually the cap for the dirt in that aquarium, and I've done a pretty good job rinsing out any kind of dirt. So it should remain pretty white, but it's not that big of a deal if there's a little bit of dirt mixed in with it. But we're just gonna go ahead and add a little layer just to get started. All right, now I don't want to go too overboard with the substrate because I do want there to be quite a bit of water left in this setup. As you can imagine, we're not going to be able to plant that many plants that require a deeper substrate. I'm hoping I could still get away with some crypt species, but for the most part, I envision this pond having mainly floating plants and quite a few plants growing immersed and up the driftwood. So now that we have a decent layer down here, I'm just going to scoop out a little spot for the driftwood, and we'll see if we can position it in. There we go. It seems to be fitting pretty good. And now let's start adding some rocks. And I'm just totally winging this. I'm gonna take my time, make sure I like it, but I don't really have any kind of idea of how these rocks are gonna come together. I'm just gonna play around with it until I'm happy with the way things start to look. That's kind of my approach to aquascaping. It's a little bit more fun when you're kind of improvising on the spot. Alright guys, and there we have it. I'm pretty happy with the way the scape looks. It probably doesn't look as good because there's some sand and stuff sitting on the rocks, but as we add water, that's going to fill into the cracks, so then you'll get a better representation of how the scape actually looks. I'm sure you guys are curious as to how much water this actually holds after everything's all said and done, and I'm actually really curious about that too. So I have a measuring cup, and we're going to slowly add some water and see how much water this thing actually holds. Alright, so I've got 1 liter here in the measuring cup, so let's slowly add this in. And then we have another ½ liter here. Alright guys, so as you can see, it fits 1.5 liters, and I'll have the conversion on the screen for gallons as well. So about half of the volume is displaced by the hardscape and substrate. That's okay, I'm really happy with the way it looks, and I think I'm really going to enjoy this once it's planted. Alright guys, and that's all I have today for this video. I'm not going to plant it yet just because I'm going to get some of my plants ready. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. Definitely a lot of anubias. As you guys know, that I really love growing my anubias immersed. I have a really big collection, and I'm excited to put a bunch of it in this pond. Now what I need from you guys is some suggestions on plants and different things that I could add to this. As I said, I'm not really good with terrestrial or vivarium type plants, so if you guys are, please let me know. I'm really wanting to expand my plants up this driftwood and have a really beautiful living wall kind of feel to it. So please drop those comments below, give me some suggestions, I need your help with that. And if you like this video, leave it a like. Consider subscribing if you want to see some more videos like this in the future. And thanks so much for watching guys. Part 2 where I plant this thing should be coming out soon. So stick around and I'll see you then.